just sit comfortably, you know, let yourself get comfortable for your hips, however that might be, whether you want to sit up on blocks or maybe you feel better to sit on a blanket or maybe just all the way to the floor. Whether you're cross-legged or stretch your legs out, it doesn't matter which. We're here for yoga flow, so just take your time and let your eyes gently close and feel your breath coming in and going out through your nose. If you can imagine that you're breathing equally in and out through both sides of your nose. And if you're comfortable to come towards those 3-part breaths, inhaling into the belly, into your ribs, then all the way up into your chest. And when you exhale, letting the breath come out of the chest first, and then your ribs, and then your belly. Next exhale, just gently let your hands come on out beside you, lightly touching the ground here now. And we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline to be in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right on up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And now let's come a little bit forward into a bit of a seated forward bend. It doesn't need to be far. You may decide you want to put your hands there and stay up really high, keeping your back nice and long. Or you might gradually feel like, I want to go a little bit farther, right? You can fold over your legs if you feel good to do that. Just release, let your jaw go, and if you're able to let your head hang, do, as long as it doesn't put too much into your low back. Just enjoy that quietness too of coming into your forward bend. And one more breath here. And then slowly use your belly to help you rise on back up into sitting, letting your arms come out beside you. And then just walk your fingertips back behind you a little bit. Doesn't matter like if your hands are kind of far apart or closer together, but imagine that string attached to your sternum is drawing it forward and up towards where the wall meets the ceiling. So there's this really big open feeling across the front of your chest. And let your head be comfortable where you're looking so that you're not feeling tension in your neck. You can even come into 3-part breath here. Inhaling into the belly, into the ribs, all the way up into the chest. And then we'll release and come on back and let your head come down towards your chest so your chin comes down a little bit. And turn your head just slightly from side to side, just so you feel release there in the neck. Good, and then we'll rise on back up. And let's from here stretch our left leg out to the side. Now, if you're able to keep your right foot in front of you here, do. If that feels uncomfortable, sometimes it's better to let your foot come farther away and support your knee. You don't want to put pressure in your knee or your hip, right? So how you're comfortable to be is up to you. Because we're going to come forward just a little bit and feel our inner thigh. So let yourself just release a little bit forward here and feel, it doesn't take long. You'll feel that inner thigh stretch. Think about the knee and the toe of the left foot pointing up towards the ceiling, really. Coming forward from your low back. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll come on up. We're going to take a nice inhale once we're up. And as we exhale, we're gonna twist to our right. Bring yourself around towards that bent knee. It doesn't matter where you put your hands. Just let yourself find that twist in the middle of the back. One more nice inhale. And on the exhale, come on back around. We're gonna go all the way in the other direction. So now you're going towards that long, straight leg. Letting yourself come around, or the opposite. And one more inhale. And let your exhale bring you on back around into center again. And we're just gonna switch our legs out. So just take your time. Again, now this is a different knee that's been here. If you feel like, wow, I can't really bend the knee that deeply, I need the foot to be out further, I need to adjust to where my knee and my hip feel good, then do it. And then again, as you think about knee and toe of that right foot pointing directly up towards the ceiling, come on forward. It doesn't take much, does it, to feel that inner thigh. So be mindful, think of coming forward from your low back, keeping the length of the spine. Let it feel really good to wake up into that leg and into your hip. Good, one more breath here. And then we're gonna walk ourselves again all the way back up. Take a nice inhale once you're here at the top. And as you exhale, twist to your left, bring yourself around. Just be mindful of coming into that twist. Feel the sitting bones reaching down, and imagine your pelvic floor lifting up a little bit. One more inhale. And as we exhale, we'll move all the way back around through center and go in the other direction. So again, let yourself lengthen up and feel that length in the back of your neck and throat. One more inhale. And then on the exhale, we'll come on back around into center. And now let's stretch both legs out. It's not a real wide angle, okay? So maybe about 90-degree angle here, so that as you come forward, you come a little bit into feeling the backs of the legs. Knees and toes are still facing up. You're welcome to slide your hands down towards your toes if you want. You can put your hands on the floor if that feels better to give yourself some support. Just be mindful, let it feel really good to come into feeling the backs of the legs a little deeper, coming forward from the low back. Good, one more breath. And then slowly let yourself come on back up. We're going to bring our legs on forward and kind of shake them out a little bit, move through your feet and your ankles, circle a little, bounces if you want to, whatever feels good, wiper blades. We're going to come around towards hands and knees. So you know if you don't want to be on your knees, use a blanket so that it's comfortable to be there. Same thing for your hands. If you are not comfortable being on your hands flat here, on your palms down, then just come down. Go to forearms maybe, or be up on your fists so that you don't have that deep wrist crease. Spread those fingers nice and wide. And now from here, just let your head hang for a second. Look back behind towards your feet. Get your knees just in the spot where you're comfortable. And then come on back, look between your hands and send your feet over to the right. And start to look back over your right shoulder towards your feet back there. Right, till you come into a nice little side stretch there. And then bring your feet back to center and your head back to center. And we're going to send the feet over to the left and look over our left shoulder. So feeling that little bit right there in the side waist and feeling a little more open in the right ribs there. And then come on back into center again and take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, draw up into your cat pose. And when you inhale, send your tailbone back and up and move back through towards your cow. Starting to move with your own breath now. Take your own time, your own speed to move through your cat cow. Stop if you need to stop in either of the poses, or keep continuously flowing through. Just imagine that those muscles alongside of your spine are getting a nice little warm up here. And then finish the one you're on so that you can make your way back into a more neutral spine here now. And let's go ahead and curl our toes under, lift our knees up, and come into a down dog from here. So reach your way back. Once you kind of get back into your dog, walk a little bit, adjust how far apart you want your feet, maybe even your hands. You can check out your hands, make sure they look pretty even on the mat there. Spread the fingers wide, hug your elbows towards each other. And just for a second, imagine you're yawning with your whole body. Feel your feet pressing away from each other and your elbows hugging in towards each other a little bit. Really enjoy finding that length of the spine for one more breath. Good. And then we're going to let our knees come on back down to the mat and step our left foot forward and come into our first lunge. So, you can grab your blocks if you like, whatever height you want your hands to be for that lunge here. Whether you decide to choose the highest height or the middle or the lowest or even the floor. And then just draw your shoulders down. Let yourself feel the feet pressing gently away from each other. Feel the hips engaging here in your lunge. But imagine your whole body very nice and long here as well. So not just about the legs and the hips, it's really about the spine as well. We're going to switch legs. So however you choose to go to the other side. And again, making sure that front knee is bent no farther forward than your ankle so that you don't have undue pressure in your knee there. Press the feet away from each other. Draw your shoulders down. Enjoy finding that length again all the way out through the top of your head. Good. And we're going to step forward and come into our standing forward bend, Uttanasana. So, support is great. If you need support, use it. Blocks can be underneath your hands. You can have your blocks way in front of you if you want so that your back stays really very lengthened. Or of course, you're more than welcome to let yourself fold forward over your legs if that feels okay in your back. Letting yourself release to where you're comfortable. Remember, knees can be bent in your standing forward bend. Knees can be straight, but just make sure you're not jamming into locking your knees at all. And accept those breaths very easily all the way in and all the way out. Nice. And now from here, we're going to rise up to standing. So hands on the hips, bend your knees, press into your feet, and we'll come on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts. So take your time, look down at your hands for a second, and also check your feet out while you're gazing down a little bit. Adjust whatever you need to. And then bring your awareness back to your hands. So let yourself then focus on your hands here. Feel your feet very equal in the floor. And then start to slowly rise the head up so that you feel that sense of the crown of the head reaching up towards the ceiling. Tailbone drops down towards between the heels, kind of a little behind the heels maybe. Feeling that alignment of the pelvis. And just let your body stack itself up. It wants to become aligned. Our bodies really feel so much better when they are aligned. Hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. Feel your head floating up there on top. And then we'll let our arms release right on down beside us. We're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend our knees. Come on forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back wherever you want your hands to be to help you. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into lunge. Really find that lunge. Again, press your feet away from each other. Feel the belly engaging. Inhale. And exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So back into dog. This time, walk to the tops of the toes a couple of times so that you press the tops of your toes 1 foot at a time into the mat. You can really stretch out the tops of the feet. Good. And then come on back into your full dog. Really let yourself reach equally back through your sitting bones and hug your elbows towards each other. And on your next inhale, come on out to that plank. Nice and strong plank. Really feel the sitting bones reaching for the heels. Now you're right there in plank where you feel good for where your feet and your hands are. Stay there and come back into dog again without moving your hands or your feet. And let's do that again. Inhale, come on out to that plank. And exhale, come on back into your down dog. And this time we're going to inhale out to plank. And we're going to lower down. Me, I like to put my knees down first, especially just getting started. Elbows by the ribs. And let's come onto our forearms into a Sphinx pose. Elbows as close to under the shoulders as feels good for you. If you need to have your elbows down towards your waist more, then do it. There's that lift in the back body here. So really let yourself feel the belly gently engaging, right? So you're protecting your back, but most of the time, this pose, Sphinx pose, is really a nice way for most people, all right? Sometimes if it bothers your low back, you do need to come down lower, do. And then just enjoy. Let the pose do it for you. Just feel that gentle engagement of the belly and let yourself just enjoy watching your breath. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to lower on down and slide our hands back by our chest. And let's come up into a baby cobra. So you really use your back body to lift you up a little bit here. Not really any pressure into your hands. They're just resting gently on the floor. Elbows, hug elbows in towards each other. And then imagine they're going down a little more towards your waist, which might lift you a little higher. And then we're going to release back down with our head and chest, and we're going to come back into down dog, whether you come through that half push-up or a full push-up. Make your way back into your downward facing dog pose. Spread those fingers wide. And we'll bring the right foot forward from here to find our lunge, and you know you can put your left knee down to get here. And then we'll come all the way back into our Uttanasana. So as you make your way into standing forward bend, be mindful. See if you can lift your toes up a little bit. You may even want to take your fingers, if you have access to this, and kind of give your toes a little massage one at a time. Just be easy. Let yourself feel really good. When you're ready to lower your toes down, just let them gently release down into the floor and start to be with your breath fully as you breathe in, staying with your awareness all the way into the end of your inhales and all the way through to the end of your exhales. Nice. We're going to let our hands from here rise on back up to our hips, press into our feet as we come on up, and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down to be in front of our hearts. From here, let's release our arms down beside us and inhale our right arm all the way up. And now turn your hand so the palm faces up and your fingertips face to the midline of your body. Press up into the heel of your hand here. And then just gently come over a little bit to the side, just so you have a lot of space between the ribs before you come over. And then just feel how that feels as you press down a little bit into your right foot, breathing into that right side of the ribs here. Really feel the ribs expand. Nice. And then we'll rise on back up. We're going to lower that arm on down. Now we're going to inhale the left arm all the way up. Again, turn the fingertips so they face the midline. You're pressing into the heel of your hand. Press up, find all that space. And then as you come a little bit over to the side, keep pressing down into that left foot a little bit more. Let yourself reach up into the heel of that hand and then find all that space. And feel your breath making the space even more, breathing into the left rib. Nice, and then we'll rise on back up again. We're going to lower that arm on down, and let's inhale the arms forward and up. Coming in a mountain with arms overhead. Now you can let the arms be wide, or you can have your hands directly over your shoulders. Feel energy all the way up through the fingertips. Feel the feet equal in the floor. Get aligned there with your pelvis. Feel your tailbone dropping down. So one more inhale here. And on the exhale, we're going to bend the knees and come on forward, back into that standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back. And we'll step our left foot back this time to come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Let's inhale our way out to plank. Nice and strong. Now, just stay strong in your plank, but bend one knee at a time without your hips moving around, right? So you're walking, but you're very, very firmly staying where you are in your hips, but you're taking that little walk by bending one knee at a time. And then finish off, come back to your full plank, and we're going to lower down again, knees first if you need, elbows right by the ribs. And you can come into any kind of cobra you want here. You can stay very low. You can, if you decide, go back to Sphinx, that's fine. Or you can come into Cobra up higher, elbows drawing in towards the ribs, shoulders down away from the ears. Make sure you're not locking your elbows, right? A little bend, hugging inward. And then we're going to come all the way back down. And we're going to make our way back to down dog. So whether you come through half or full push-up or back to your hands and knees, and back to your down dog. Walk your dog a little bit now. Let it be easy. Really enjoy finding the long leg. So you feel, when you bend one knee, that long leg, you can really feel your calf opening up a little more. Good. And then come on back to full dog. We're going to bring our left foot forward to find that lunge. And you know you can put your right knee down to get there. And then we'll come on back into our standing forward bend. Breathing, easy, nice full breaths, and just imagining that your inhales and exhales are equally important. So they just naturally want to come closer to the same length. Nice, and then we'll bring our hands right on back up to our hips, press into our feet as we rise up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our hearts. A couple breaths here. We're about to move with our breath through two sun salutations. So really, as you do this, just imagine that the breath is what is carrying you through. That it's all about the breath instead of all about the movement or the poses, right? So as we unfold our arms on down beside us, let's let our inhales rise the arms out and up overhead. And as we exhale, fold forward from the hips into standing forward bend. Inhale into that nice long flat back. And exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale, exhale into your down dog. Let your inhale be what carries you to plank. Your exhale will lower you. And your inhale will bring you into your cobra of choice. And your exhale brings you back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising again all the way to the top of your breath. And let your exhale carry you forward. Inhale into that nice long back. And exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into down dog. Inhale your way out to plank. Let your exhale lower you down. And inhale into that cobra of choice. And exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising again all the way to the top with your breath. And let your exhale carry you forward. Inhale, nice long back. We're going to come into down dog. So you place your hands, you can jump, you can walk. Get into your dog, however feels good. Move around a little bit if you need to. Adjust. Make any kind of adjustments that need to be done where you feel like you're really, really well into your dog, right? Really comfortable in your dog. It feels almost like a resting pose, right? Good. Now from here, we're going to bring our left foot forward. We're going to come up from warrior two. So you might want your blocks handy here. Go ahead and check out the alignment of that front foot parallel to the long edge of your mat and the back foot at that angle where you're comfortable to be. You know, however it feels good for you up into your knee and up into your hip. Bend that front knee a little bit here. Really be mindful of getting adjusted there. And let's bring our hands to meet in front of our hearts. Let yourself just come into prayer hands and feel very easily balanced here. Good. And now from here, turn your palms forward. Imagine you're just pressing straight out from your shoulders into the palms of your hands, like you're pushing something away from you, right in front of you. And now keep your hands flexed as you start to open into your warrior two arms. Bringing your gaze to the back of that left hand now, and reaching back into that heel of that right hand as well. So you're really feeling the undersides of the arms right now. And then go ahead and bring the palms down, coming into your warrior two arms. Pressing the feet away from each other. Really enjoy finding that sense of engagement. Up into your hips. One more breath here. And then we're going to straighten the left leg out. And we're going to bring our left hand down for triangle, so you can use your leg, you can use a block. See, if you can let that right hand just come straight on up from your shoulder, do. If you need to put your hand down on your hip, that's fine. Feel your thighs lifting up towards your hips. Feel that length out through the top of your head. Energy all the way up through those fingertips up there. If you like to turn to look up, you can press forward a little bit with your right hand and maybe turn to look up towards the ceiling. One more breath here. Feel those thighs lifting up towards the hips. Good. And then from here, we're going to come back to warrior two. Bend that left knee. Come on back into warrior two. Pressing those feet away from each other as you come. Good. And let your hands come down now. We're going to turn our feet. And we're going to get the feet pretty parallel. But don't go forward yet, because we're going to come into a little five-pointed star. So as you start to bring your arms up higher than your shoulders now, let your shoulders melt down. And now really be aware of your pelvis. It's very tempting in this pose to let the tailbone curl up under you a little bit. Try not to let that happen. Reach back a little with your tailbone. And then lower your left arm down. Reach up through your right side of the body. And then just slide your left hand down your leg a little bit and come into side stretch here with your legs really wide like this. Now one more breath here. And then we'll come on back up. And we're going to come back through five-pointed star. And then we're going to lower our right hand down. Our left arm's going to come up, and we're going to slide the right hand down the leg. And let ourselves just come into that side stretch for another breath. And then come back to your five-pointed star. Bring both arms on up and really reach out through the fingertips. Nice. And then we're going to release the arms down and come on forward for a wide-legged forward bend. You know, if you need your blocks, grab your blocks. If you'd rather have your hands on the floor, that's fine. Go ahead and take your time, bend a knee at a time if you can. Get yourself really to where you feel good about having your feet the distance apart that they are, right? Good. And then let yourself come on into setting up to stay in the pose for a few breaths, whether it's using support under your hands like your blocks or your forearms on the blocks or your head, so that you can feel really comfortable. I mean, some of you might feel even better just to go ahead and hang the head and fold forward. Don't do that if it feels like it's too much pressure in your back. And then, really watch those breaths now. So feel the breath as it comes in and goes out. And again, imagining that they're equally important, those inhales and exhales. Which they are, of course, because you can't have one without the other. And see if you can let them even out fairly easily. So you're not forcing anything, it just feels natural. More nice full breath here. Now as we get ready to walk back over to our left foot, take your time. Come on around, back into your lunge. Take your time to find your lunge there. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Walk a little bit if you need to. Find your dog easily. And then see if you can come out to plank like we did before, so that you find just right where your feet, your hands are for your plank, and then keep your hands and your feet there and come back to dog again. So if you can do a couple more of those, just going out to plank and then back to dog, good. Now if you want to add vinyasa or kriya from there, go for it. You can come out to the plank, move to your up dog if you want to. You don't need to. You can come down through chaturanga. And come up to up dog from the floor, if that's better. If you're like, I don't want to do any of those, don't do them. Put your knees down and rest if you need. Good. So finish off whatever you're working on now to meet back in down dog. Good, and we'll bring our right foot forward, and we're coming up for warrior two on the other side. So again, lining up those heels. Getting that alignment of that front knee. And again, making sure that you have this foot, right foot parallel to the long edge of the mat. Make sure you're not turning your foot inward. Sometimes that happens without even realizing. And then getting that back foot at the angle where you feel good, right? And then hands to your heart. Let yourself just release, bringing your hands to your heart. Take your time. Let it feel really good, really balanced between your feet all the way up through your legs and your hips. Feel the feet in the floor. Good. Now again, we're going to think about turning our palms forward and pressing forward like you're pushing something right in front of you. Right in front of you. And then you're going to open your arms, keeping the hands flexed into those warrior two arms. Looking to the back of that right hand. Pressing equally out into the heels of the hands here now. Nice. Hello, undersides of the arms, right? And then go ahead and let your palms come down. Reach out through your fingertips. Soften the tops of the shoulders. Feel the feet gently pressing away from each other. Really enjoy finding that power and strength of your warrior two. And we're going to straighten that right leg out. We're going to bring our right hand down for triangle. So again, if you can let that left arm just continue on upward, do. If it hurts your shoulder, put your hand on your hip. Don't worry about it. Thighs lifting up towards the hips. Extending the torso out over the front leg. You know, if you're using a block, you can have it either in front of or behind that right leg. So take your time. Enjoy. And again, it's that idea of if you like to think of looking up, pressing that top hand a little forward sometimes gets you into a better place to be able to do that if you feel like that would feel good. So take your time, feel those thighs lifting up towards the hips. One more breath. Beautiful. We're going to bend the front knee, come on back into warrior two from here. Pressing those feet away from each other as we come. Back into that strength. And then let your hands come down. We're going to turn our feet. Now this time, we're going to turn our toes out a little bit and do a little goddess. Just a little. So bend your knees a little bit. It's kind of funny. Goddess for some people really bothers, I know, around their knees. So, you know, if it's really getting to you to bend and be turned out like this and bend your knees, just don't go as deeply. Let yourself just barely bend the knees if you need to, right? And then bring your arms straight out from your shoulders and bend your elbows to 90 degrees. Let yourself come into your goddess arms there. And just bring your left arm on top of your right. Do a little hug or into a full eagle arm wrap if you choose. And if your legs are screaming at you and you need to come up out of that squat a little bit, then do. And then you can always go back into it, right? It's like doing a plie in dance class, right? And then undo your arms, back to goddess arms. Let your arms come back into those goddess arms. And we're going to bring the other arm on top, right arm on top. Again, you can stay hugging. You don't have to go into the eagle wrap. And again, once you get there, if you want to move a little bit and let yourself kind of go up and down a little bit, you can, especially if your legs are starting to really scream at you, right? Good, and then come on back down into your goddess. Open your arms back into goddess arms. And now, straighten your legs and your arms like you're the letter X. Let your palms face forward. Reach out through your fingertips. If you want to try to lift both your heels up, you can off the floor. And then we'll release to come on down. We're going to turn our toes more parallel with our feet out now. And we're going to come on forward into a wide-legged forward bend. Whether you're on a block or the floor, keep your back long. Have your hands out in front of you. I like to use a block for these little twists, but that's up to you. And have your hands on the floor. Feel your feet get situated there. Start to press your feet away from each other like you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet. And then bring your right hand on up to your right hip and roll your shoulder up. You can, if you want, stretch your arm up. You don't need to. Keep the feet pressing away from each other. And then bring that right hand on back down. And we're gonna go the other side. Feet are pressing away from each other, lengthening out through the top of your head. You're welcome to stretch your arm up if you want, or keep your hand right there on your low back. Finding that twist in the middle of the back. Reach back through your tailbone, and then we'll release and come on back down. And then from here, take your time, bend both your knees a little bit, kind of set yourself up to stay in your pose again. You know, maybe you want to try something different than you did on the other side. Maybe you feel like, well, I want to hold my ankles, or I want to hold on to the blocks in front of me and really extend my torso out. I think some of you maybe want to walk your hands backward, walk back between your legs and go back far with your hands. And just breathe. Easy, nice breaths. You can do the mantra of inhaling, thinking the word so, exhaling hum. I am that. That's the translation. So inhaling so, exhaling hum. Good. One more nice full breath. Walk ourselves out so we can walk back to the right foot. Come on, back into your lunge. And make our way then back again into downward facing dog pose. And walk again if you need to the tops of your feet. If you need to stretch out the tops of the feet a little bit, do. Take your time. Reach back and then let your body kind of take over. If you need to put your knees down to rest in child's pose, do. If you feel like you'd like to move a little through some vinyasas or kriyas, or open your hips, you know, anything that feels good. Take your time. Don't push it. It's the middle of the week. Good. So we're going to meet back in down dog again. This time we're going to bring our left foot forward and we're coming up for warrior one. We do want both our blocks handy this time by your front foot there. Coming on up and adjusting that back heel just to where when you draw your shoulders around, this hip pointer comes around. You're not forcing anything, but it feels fine in this back foot all the way up into your knee, into the front of your hip here. And then for a second, just bring your hands behind. You know, you can hold wrists, you can hold hands if you'd rather. You can reach for your own elbows, if that feels good. Letting your gaze come forward. And then just see if you can let the three-part breaths calm you down a little bit. Feel a couple of nice three-part breaths. Inhaling into the belly, into the ribs, up into your chest. Good. And then we'll release and bring our arms on down, and we're going to make a big circle. We're going to inhale our arms forward and up, overhead, and then as far back behind you as you can as you exhale them down. And we'll do it again, inhaling the arms up, and exhaling them down. And this last time, we're going to inhale the arms up. Now you can be wide V if you want, or you can bring your hands over your shoulders. Let your pinkies turn in towards each other a little bit. Feel that lift if you can of your gaze up a bit. Find that lift at the base of your shoulder blades and energy all the way out through the fingertips. Now feel your feet very equal in the floor. Imagine your arches lifting up. Good. One more breath. And then let your gaze come forward, release your arms on down beside you, and now again, bring your hands however you want behind you. You can hold hands, wrists, you can even do your reverse namaste hands if you want to. We're going to straighten the front knee out, right? Coming into our pyramid pose. So now you're going to think of really letting yourself find that drawing of the hip pointer bones towards each other feeling. You may not want to go far. You may want to go 3 inches and stop, right? Thighs are lifting up towards the hips. Letting yourself feel that that belly deeply engaging, but legs deeply engaging, hips engaging. You can go as far as you want, and then when you're ready to release your hands down, you can use the blocks or the floor. That's up to you. Once you get your hands down, if you need to adjust your stance a little bit, do. Keep your spine long for a second here. Try not to round. Try to keep a nice flat back. And that might mean that you need to stay up higher, right? We're going to bring our left hand to our left hip and roll that shoulder up and come into revolved triangle, which we've gotten pretty ready for with all that we've done. So feel again, that sense of your hip pointer bones drawing towards each other, but your tailbone reaching back, right? If you can stretch your top arm up, you're more than welcome to. You don't need to. You can keep your hand down. Let yourself just enjoy finding the outside of that left leg there. Good, and then we'll come on back down with the hand. And if you want to bow forward over that leg, by all means go right ahead and do that. You can let yourself fold over the leg a bit if that feels good. Not if it doesn't. Good, one more breath here. And now come on back up again to bend your front knee and find your lunge, okay? Getting into lunge here because we're going to think of letting our blocks come forward, way forward of our foot here. And then you got to adjust yourself to go ahead and shift up onto that left leg and come into warrior three with the toes facing down towards the ground. You can have your hands any height on the blocks or the floor. Now bend both your knees and let your right foot be like you're putting a footprint on the ceiling. So try not to drop the knee down. In fact, lift the knee up a little bit and then let it come down a tiny little bit. Do that a couple of times. You won't want to do it more than that because, man, it's intense. So you're working your glute. You're probably feeling the standing leg like crazy. And then go ahead and come on back into long leg, into your warrior three. And if you want to release your left arm forward or bring your left hand up to your back or to your chest, you don't have to, but you can. Just feel that strength of that supporting leg. Really reach into that inner right heel back there. Good, one more breath. And now we're going to bring hands down so that we can step back into lunge. So you may even just want to walk your blocks back in with you. Come on back into your lunge here. And we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Once you're in dog, walk the tops of the toes a couple of times just to give yourself a little relief. And then bring your feet a little closer together. Lift your left leg up in the air and bend the knee and open the hip. Let the knee open so that you come into that sense of stacking your left hip on top of your right. If you can pull your heel in more towards your buttocks to get your quad a little more stretched out, do it. And then stretch the leg long. We're going to bring it on back down, foot to the floor, and switch legs. So right leg comes up, knee bends, open that hip. Again, it's that stacking feeling of the stacking the right hip on top of the left. And if you can pull your heel in a little bit more and feel your quad there. And then stretch the leg long and lower the foot back down. And let's come down onto our knees and shift back towards pose of a child. And bend your elbows, bring your hands onto the tops of the back of your upper back, right onto your upper back. Unless that bothers you, don't do it, right? If it feels like a big release, go for it. Breathe into the low back here. Let yourself release into your breath. Good. One more breath. Nice. And then release your arms on back forward and overhead. We're going to come on back up to all fours into down dog. And we're going to bring our right foot forward and come into warrior one on the other side. So again, get yourself set up there and bring your blocks to where you have them handy. Get that alignment of that back foot, right? So that when your shoulders get square to the front of the mat, you know, that doesn't mean your hip pointer bone is going to come around all the way, right? But you want to get to where you feel comfortable and you don't feel any kind of stress in that left knee. Now, once you get up and you're looking forward, your hands can come back again, however you want them to come. You can hold your hands You can hold a wrist, you can hold both your forearms or your elbows, or you can, if you would like to really work on those reverse namaste hands here, you can. Breathing into the belly, into the ribs, and all the way up into the chest. Just feeling that expansive breath, right? Oh my gosh, it feels so good in this pose. You can really feel the breath coming into those three parts. And then we're going to release our arms on down. Again, we're making that big circle. Inhaling the arms forward and up. Exhaling as they come as far back behind you as you can. And then again, inhaling, rising up. And exhaling, releasing down. And this last one, as we rise the arms on up, you can make the hands wider apart if you want. Hug your pinkies towards each other. Maybe lift your gaze up a little bit, feeling that lift to the base of your shoulder blades. Belly is deeply engaged. Now imagine arches of both feet lifting up. Even if you don't really have much of an arch, just pretend that you're lifting your arches up. You feel the four corners of your feet into the floor. Beautiful. One more breath. And then bringing your gaze on forward, lowering your arms on down, and bringing your hands behind you. Again, this is how you want them to be. Stretch your front leg long. We're coming into pyramid, drawing those hip pointer bones towards each other, and you may only want to go 2 inches and then stop with your hands back like this, right? Or you might want to get more parallel to the floor. You go as far as you feel good to go. Really keeping that engagement of the legs. When you're ready to bring your hands on down, you can use whatever height you want for your hands, and then of course you can always readjust your stance if it feels a little cockeyed. So feel that sense of being even through the sides of the body, really flat. Almost like, it's like you're drawing your right hip back a little bit to line it up with the left one. Flat back. And then when you're ready, bring your right hand to your right hip and start to roll that shoulder up. You're in your revolved triangle here. The twist is in the middle of the back. You're lengthened out through the top of your head. And if you want to stretch your arm up, more power to you. But you know, that's pretty intense in the shoulder. Be where you can. Let yourself enjoy. Beautiful. One more breath. Nice. Now once you bring your hand down, back to your pyramid, if you want to fold forward over the leg, do. So your legs are still straight, the thighs are still lifting up towards the hips. It's just a really huge release for the backs of the legs and for the hips, right? Good. One more breath here. And now we're going to find lunge. So bend that front knee and get your blocks forward of your foot there, so that you can think about, okay, I'm going to push off with that back foot, and I'm going to be right on up there into that left leg floating up, just where your hands are on the blocks if you need to. Bend both your knees, let the left foot be like it's putting a footprint on the ceiling. And now try this thing where you feel the knee lifting up a little bit, and then it comes back down. The left knee lifts up, which makes the foot go up too, obviously they're connected, and then lifting it up and down a few times. And it's very intense. You may not want to do it many times, because it is very intense. And then finish off so that you can stretch into that leg long again. Turn the toes to where they're parallel, face the floor, your pinky toe is facing down. If you want to float your right hand up anywhere, do. You know, you may want to put it on your back, you may want to stretch it forward. Some of you, I'm going to stay on the other side, may want to do the full, both on hands off and balance. Feel that strength in that supporting leg. Good. One more breath here. And now we're going to reach back into lunge again. So take your time. You may want to bring your blocks back with you. Find that lunge. And we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Nice. Once you're in dog, take a couple of breaths here in your dog. Let your chest melt kind of backwards towards your legs a little bit. And then come on out to your plank. Lower your knees down. Come on into let's actually thread the needle with our right arm. Go ahead and thread the needle. Come on down to the right side of your head. And if possible, put your left hand kind of up on your low back, right? Just to let it feel a little bit different. If that's too much, don't do it. If it's too much anywhere, right? Good. One more breath there. And then go ahead and bring your left hand down, and we'll switch and go to the other side. Thread the needle with that left arm under. Again, once you kind of get comfortable, if you can put your hand, your right hand on palm down on your low back, do it. If not, don't. Good. And then let yourself bring the hand down. Come on up. And from here, if you can, shift back onto your feet so that you're up with your feet hip distance apart and parallel in a standing forward bend. And if that's not comfortable, get there however you can, right? Nice easy breaths. And then let your hands come on up to your hips, press into your feet as you rise up to standing. And we're going to inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, we'll let our hands come to be right in front of our hearts. Coming into mountain pose, if you want to sway around a little bit, or, I mean, I'm serious, sometimes it just feels good to move to me. When I come up from, a lot of sun salutations, a lot of warriors, I just want to let my body move a little more to adjust into mountain pose. Just be easy, let the body find its way, let yourself, whether your eyes are open or closed, imagine you're looking out towards the horizon. And then we'll go ahead and release our arms on down beside us. Again, shake out a little bit. We're going to come to a wall. We're going to bring our mats all the way into a wall, short edge of the mat to the wall. More fun. So, let's come on down. Once you get your stuff all arranged, come on down and have your feet back towards the wall behind you. Come onto your forearms and just let yourself have your bottom up in the air for a second. Let your head hang. Let yourself just release that way. And just breathe. So not back into a full child's pose, really just letting your hips stay up in the air, but letting your chest melt down a little bit. Good. And now, let's shift back a little and stretch our arms overhead so that you're towards child's pose with arms overhead. And we're going to come on up to all fours and curl our toes under and come back into down dog with our heels up the wall. So pressing way back out of your hands here. Hug your elbows towards each other. And now just come enough forward to look at your own hands and look at your wrists. So when you're way back, bend your knees and really reach back towards the wall. Look at your wrists. They don't have creases anymore, right? And that's what you're aiming for here. So if you can kind of let yourself find that much of a reach back with your heels up the wall, that's a lot of work, right? You can come rest if you need to. If you want to go right to putting a foot up the wall, by all means do. If you're really thinking you want to put a foot up the wall when you're on your hands like this. Not everybody does, so don't do it. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. You can switch whenever you want. You can play however you want. These are preparations for handstands, right? So that doesn't mean you ever want to stand on your hands even. You can come down and rest when you want, especially if you're feeling. So sometimes what happens, obviously, is when you talk about the wrist crease being gone, sometimes when you start playing, right, when you're up like this, and you start to bring your feet up, and then you walk forward, then you get that wrist crease back, right? So that is when your hands might start to go, oh. The closer you get to getting your hands under your shoulders is the closer you're getting towards your handstand, the strength of being able to do that. So rest when you need. You all who want to go to forearms, if you want to do a little more inversion work and you want to be on your forearms, feel free to do that. So take your time. rest however you want, whether it's sitting or maybe you feel better to be in child's pose. I'm just taking my mask off for a minute. I hope everybody feels good at that, just for a second. We're gonna do a little pigeon pose, actually. So, I know full pigeon is not always the best thing for everybody. If you need to lie on your back and do a figure 4 instead of a pigeon pose, do. If we were all to bring our left knee forward towards the front corner of our mat, what helps me a lot sometimes is putting a blanket underneath this side, right? Underneath kind of my buttock, kind of the thigh a little bit. You don't need to do that. Some people feel better without that. But for me, it seems to get my hips more level more easily. And some people would rather put it underneath their knee because your knee is like, into the floor a little bit here. And if you can kind of come forward enough to curl your toes under on that back foot and lift your knee up a little. And then imagine you're sending the knee back further towards the wall behind you and put it back down again. And then come back to the top of your foot. And if you can go to your fingertips and lift up a little more, do. Don't force it though. Really opening through the front of the right hip here. Good, nice. That knee is angled slightly. We're gonna release then to start to come forward. So you might want blocks. You might want to put your forearms on blocks, your head on a block. You might want to make a pillow with your hands and rest your forehead. So engage slightly. Press a little bit into the right top of your right foot. So the toenails are kind of pressing down. And kind of press into the part of your left foot that's on the floor, right? So you're engaged a little bit more up into your hips. And then you can kind of let that go. Breathe into your low back. If you feel like engaging off and on, you can, right? You can let yourself press into the floor a little bit. Or even imagine you're hugging your thighs towards each other a little bit, like you're hugging them in towards each other. That sometimes feels really good. Nice full breaths. Good. One more breath. And now come up to your forearms. So we're on our forearms, which already has given us a little bit of a back bend. But when you bend your right knee and flex your foot, it's even deeper. And this might be enough right here, right? So we kind of, as when we had our Warrior 3 going, and we bent the knee and we lifted the knee up and down a little bit, you really kind of got into this. Should like release a bit of what we tightened there. And now if you want to go up higher, you can. You can bring your hands to the floor so that you're up with your upper body. And if you want to reach back and hold on either to the inside or the outside of that right foot back there, you can, but it's not necessary. If you hold it and it feels good, you can press that foot into your hand. Let yourself even bring the left arm forward. I only do this if I'm on a blanket. Otherwise I fall over, right? So otherwise you keep my hand down. But if you want to open your shoulder, if you're able to get the foot, I'm telling you, it's quite a shoulder opener, however you hold it. And then we're going to release and come on back down. And we're going to make our way back into child's pose. So let yourself come back into your child's pose. Once you're there, walk over with your hands to the right. And breathe into the left side of the body a little bit there. Good, and then walk back through center and go over toward the left. And breathe into the low back there and into the side of the body. Good, and then come on back into center. And we're going to bring our right knee forward for the pigeon on the other side. Now, if you've got issues on one side, and this pose is doable on one but not the other, and this might be the one you're not doable on, then lie on your back and do a figure 4, right? You do not want to put excess, anything into the knee that feels uncomfortable. And if you can angle that knee towards the corner of your mat and think about this right heel kind of coming in towards your hip pointer bone there. If you can get up a little bit higher, right, then there you are in a little bit of a back bend. Yeah, and feel that openness here in the front of that left hip. You can even press into the top of the toes a little bit and get even more, right? Good. We're going to ease our way forward. So again, once you start to make your way forward, take your time. You can rest your head on your hands. You can, if you want, use a block. You can feel the legs engaging a little bit by pressing into the feet a little, or even hugging your thighs like you're hugging them in towards each other. Or even like you're trying to make your mat longer by pressing away from each other with your legs and your thighs, your knees too. Good, one more breath. Now, if you can come up to your forearms, right? If you need a block underneath, use a block. And then if you can bend your left knee and flex the foot. And that really deepens the stretch in the right hip. So if that's enough for you, stay there. If you're like, oh, I like getting up higher, it feels better, you know, I feel good to come up higher, you can. You don't have to reach back for that foot. Only if it feels good to you to reach back and hold on to the top of the foot, either on the inside or the outside, pressing the foot into your hand, right? So let yourself just enjoy finding that quad, also opening through the shoulder if you have the foot. Good. One more breath. Nice. And then we're going to release, and we're going to come on back down. Move your blanket on out of the way. Shift on back one more time into your child pose. And take a couple of breaths into your low back. And then we'll bring our hands by our knees. We're going to come on up and around with our legs. So bring your legs on around in front of you. And we're going to come down onto our backs on the floor. So come on down. Bring yourself on down. Bring your knees on into your chest. See if you can cross your ankles. It doesn't matter which one's on top because we're going to switch. Bring your hands around the outside of your legs and hold your feet if you can. Right? And then just pull your thighs in towards your outer ribs so your low back is really collapsed into the ground. Just let it release. And then switch, let go so you can switch the ankle that's on top and go to the other side. And just squeeze downward with those legs. Let it feel good. You know, obviously it hurts your knees, don't. I feel releasing. And then bring your feet onto the floor here and just lift your hips up a little bit and down just to kind of even yourself out, get yourself straightened out in your spine. And we're going to bring our right thigh on top of our left, woman cross-legged like, you know. So thighs over thigh, lift your hips up, shift them to the right 2 or 3 inches and put them down. And let your knees come over to the left into a twist. Now when you do this, if you want to let your right arm come up a little higher, so you have this kind of long diagonal line down the side of the body there, you can. You can just let yourself breathe. Rise the knees on back up. Now as we do, go ahead and uncross, okay? So you can straighten your spine out because you got all crooked when you shift it over. So do that same kind of lift the hips up, put them down, get yourself straight. And then bring your left thigh on top of your right. Thigh over thigh, lift your hips up, shift them to the left 2 or 3 inches and put them down. And let your knees come over to the right. And again, you may feel good to let the right arm come higher. And you know, if you do that, your shoulder is not necessarily on the ground. I forgot to say that on the other side. But if your arm wants to float up, your shoulder might come up too, and that's fine. Just take your time. Find that twist that feels really good to you. feel like coming up out of the twist, you can rise back up when you're ready and uncross your legs so that you can straighten your spine out again. And when you do that and you come back, let your body do just what it needs, right? Any kind of movement or any pose that you want to do, let yourself go for it. I'm going to remember to put a sign on the door because I have a class after this, remember. So take your time. If you need to do a bridge pose, do a bridge pose. If you would like to do some sort of hip release, a Uttanasana, anything at all, I'll bring you your bolster. If you would like a bolster of any size or an extra blanket for Shavasana, let me know. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Welcome. So just enjoy feeling the ground supporting you, letting yourself enjoy accepting your breaths in and out. When your mind wanders, just no judgment really, just let yourself keep coming back to your breath over and over and over. Give your body and your brain time to benefit however they need. Allow yourself to completely and fully relax. start to come in and go out more fully and more deeply. So feel the actual movement of the belly as you